with its great natural resources, was destined to attain industrial importance. And it was foreseen that the establishment of a fine steel industry was not only logical, but essential. During the last years of the World War, a small crucible steel mill was established here at Welland, Canada. And from this embryo plant, Atlas Steels Limited has matured as a true manifestation of Canada's industrial growth and strength. The tool and other fine steels manufactured in this plant are basic in character because they permeate all industry. And only by the establishment of such a plant here in Canada could this dominion be properly served. In these great plants of today, a vision for the efficient manufacture of fine quality steels is being fulfilled.
Yes, within these walls, in plants that cover more than 100 acres, the special purpose steels for 1,000 jobs are born. Born of the roaring furnaces and the rumbling mills. No mongrel materials are these. The basis of electrically melted steel is high-grade steel scrap, pedigreed scrap for a thoroughbred product. Rigid specifications govern the procuring of all this mountainous mass of raw material. The cars of this train lie in embryo the fine quality steel tools of tomorrow's use. The carpenter's chisel, the machinist's high-speed cutter. Even the blades of the schoolboy's flashing skates are here. In deep, strong bins, the highly alloyed and tool steel scrap is kept segregated under cover until needed. Scrap is selected for a new batch of steel. A powerful electromagnet handles it all, picks it up from the storage bins, swings it through the air, and drops it into the waiting boxes that will carry it to its fiery destiny. The scrap crowds up close to the furnace, ready for its rendezvous with fire and fate. The long, strong arm of the charger reaches out grimly, firmly lifts a box from the waiting row, plunges deep into the gaping mouth of the furnace, and drops the scrap in its last resting place. Again and again, the great arm moves as the operator carefully and correctly feeds the hungry furnace. Operation is completed with a speed and ease that speaks well for the operator's skill and for the almost human efficiency of the strange, strong arm he wields. The melter throws in his switches. The first fierce arc brings surging power. Look at those cables tremble. Listen to that furnace roar. Man controls a fearful force. The smaller furnaces receive their charges in a different way. Roof and electrodes are removed together, a single unit. High in the air, a specially designed bucket swings out with its heavy load of scrap. Closer it comes and closer till it hangs precariously over the eager furnace. A single strand of rope holds back the scrap from its plunge. Then the radiated heat ignites the rope. It snaps and the scrap drops into the chasm below. The furnace has its charge and is ready to make steel. Switches are in. Power begins to flow. Another batch of steel is being bored. Big Furnaces is now ready for the first shovelfuls of lime that will help make a good slag.
Get that smoke a little lighter there, Art.
The melter's assistants stir the flaming cauldron with a mixing rod. Constantly, the melter's crew tends the furnace, watching the bubbling bath inside. A long-handled spoon takes a sample from the molten bath. For highly alloyed steels, a plate test is taken. For other steels, a cup test is employed. A metallurgical observer, trained in the use of the optical pyrometer, peers through his instrument to gauge the temperature of the sample as it comes from the furnace. The cup is poured full. It is ready now for the chemical laboratory. It is delivered there immediately for a complete analysis. The bath is nearing the end of its oxidation period. A few last shovelfuls of lime are added. A final stirring churns up the fuming steel, and then the melter gives his orders for the slagging off.
Get that slag off, Mac, and get her out good and clean now. Okay.
This first slagging off gets rid of impurities and objectionable alloys. Wooden paddles skim the slag off into pits beneath the furnace. Must be formed as quickly as possible over the bare bath. Fresh deoxidizing materials are shoveled in immediately under the melter's supervision. The molten steel is now going into its refining period. In the meantime, the samples have been delivered to the chemical laboratory. The cooled sample that came out of the test cup is put under a drill press in the laboratory. Those chips piling up around the drill will soon undergo the most exhaustive tests that the chemists can give them. The routine chemistry of steelmaking is taking place in these rooms. The plate test sample is pulverized under a pneumatic hammer. The resulting powder, like the drillings from the test cup, can be fused for carbon determination or can be readily dissolved in acids for other analyses. Many responsibilities rest on these men and their laboratory equipment. Research, analysis of raw materials, control of composition in the melting furnaces, and the checking of finished products. Nothing must be overlooked or left to chance in the making of high-grade steels. When laboratory analysis is complete, A melting furnace control chemist reports his findings by telautograph to the steel melter, who immediately calculates the alloy additions that are necessary to bring his steel bath to the specified analysis. It's several hours now since the furnace first roared down with its jumbled mass of scrap. Its work should be nearly done.
How's your slag? Rolling white. All right. I had 250 pounds of nickel, 100 pounds of chrome, 75 pounds of manganese. Touch up your slag, and we're ready to tap in an hour. Okay.
The alloy elements are weighed out carefully, piece by piece. They are dumped in front of the furnace door. In goes the alloy, hitting the molten steel with a spattering shower of sparks. The bath is complete. The door slides down for the last time. It can't be long now till she's ready.
What reading did you get? 3,000 degrees, F. All right. Over another 10 minutes and tap.
High over the pouring pit, the crane operator learns it's time to tap. He swings his heavy ladle into place. The furnace tips. Molten steel flows into the ladle in a white-hot flood. Tons of liquid steel flowing smooth as boiling oil. Nearly full. Rolling fumes rise in the unearthly light. The steel is tapped. The ponderous ladle swings away. Rocking in its mammoth cradle, the furnace slowly settles back into place. Now the cycle will continue. Melt and tap. Melt and tap. As long as steel is needed, the work is never done. Down the line, another furnace nears its time. The slag is rolling, the alloys are in. The steel is ready to flow. One last stirring before she taps, and then the melter gives the word they're ready to tap steel. Far in advance, the ingot molds are prepared to receive the molten steel. A thorough cleaning and brushing prepares the molds. A fine coating is sprayed inside. Great care is taken with the molds, for it is here that sound, homogeneous steel is born. A plug goes in, and a refractory hot top fits above, a reservoir to feed the ingot as it solidifies and shrinks. The melter and his streetcar-like control is ready to tap another furnace. The ladle swings in to take on its load. Down on the floor, a furnace man directs the crane operator. He rides high above the furnace in his cab. The observer again brings up his pyrometer, gauging the temperature of the liquid steel as it flows from the furnace. The ladle swings to the waiting molds. The small molds fill rapidly under the bright stream of molten steel. A final ladle sample is taken from the new batch of steel for a chemical double check. As each ingot is poured, it gets its birthmark, a metal tag that is frozen right into the steel, an identification mark that stays with it always in the operations yet to come. Larger ingots are poured quickly in the same way and are given the same permanent birthmark. Still hot, but completely solidified, the small ingots are stripped from their molds by powerful pincers. When an ingot solidifies, the hot top's job is done. Knock it off. The big fellows are picked up, mold and all, and set down where the mold can be anchored to the floor. Tremendous push from below loosens the ingot in its bed. Now it can be plucked out easily. There's the next stop for the new steel. Deep soaking pits where the ingots are steeped in heat until they're uniformly hot right to the core. Strong, almost human mechanical fingers snatch at the ingots lying loose in their molds and hoist them into the air for the trip to the soaking pits. With not even a momentary pause, the fingers swoop down with their weighty burden. Electrically operated covers slide back from the long battery of pits, revealing the heat and flame-filled caverns underneath. control, both visual and automatic, is essential in the manufacture of high-grade steel. An ingot is ready to come out of the pit and move to the rolling mills. High in the air, it swings once more. It then drops down to a simple little buggy that waits below. Away it goes on the first quick lap of a long, varied ride. Hard-working rolls need a continuous bath of cooling water to carry on their work. Up in their pulpit, the roll manipulators must continuously coordinate their movements, even their thoughts, to control the mill operations. After the heavy rolls have done their work, a long, thinned-down billet that can be cut into convenient lengths and stored away till needed. Smoothly it slides under the guillotine blade that slices through it like a knife through cheese. Already another ingot is on its way to the mill. Again, the mighty mill rolls, presses, and squeezes the yielding steel as it passes back and forth. Rapidly, it grows longer and smaller, changing every time it moves. At last, squared and stretched to several times its former length, it leaves the big mill and goes on. Not to the shears, but to a moving table that bypasses it to a smaller mill for further reduction. At last to the required size, the bars or billets move out to be hot sawn into shorter lengths. Special shop equipment is maintained for turning rolls and reconditioning them when they have taken a beating from the tough, hot steel they constantly work on. In deep cooling pits, products of these rolling mills are gradually cooled to minimize the effect of stresses on their structure. Gas burners can produce a retarded rate of cooling when necessary. Other ingots are not rolled at all, but pressed. This huge tractor-like carriage picks up a mass of ingot as easily as a man lifts a baseball bat and slips it between the open jaws of a mammoth press. Like a baker kneading dough, this grim machine needs steel, pressing, squeezing, shaping the ingot with amazing speed. The great size and almost limitless flexibility of these intricate pieces of machinery makes them invaluable, particularly in producing such difficult or irregular shapes as shafts or die blocks. A long bloom of steel is fed into the press for shaping. Tremendous pressure begins at once to do its work. Ponderous but precise machinery under an expert human hand guides the heavy steel billet back and forth as easily as a housewife feeds a piece of cloth into a sewing machine. When shaping is completed, the press and carriage combine again to finish the job by cutting the billet with mighty strokes. The billet is buried in a coffin of mica to cool slowly before further working. Highly alloyed tool steel ingots receive their first working into billets under large hammers. Billets go direct from the heating furnace to the hammer. Then to a box of mica for the slow cooling period. Before surface conditioning, billets are annealed in the bigger car-type annealing furnaces. This whole row of furnaces is of the most modern type. as they leave the annealing furnaces, some billets go through a pickling process where surface scale is removed in an acid bath. Highly alloyed steels have surface scale removed by sandblasting. The surfaces of highly alloyed steels are conditioned by a battery of speeding, screaming grinders in the hands of expert workers. Chippers with pneumatic chisels clear the surfaces of medium alloy or plain carbon steels. Some of the billets go to the billetier, an immense automatic machine that can gouge in deep or just skim the surface, whichever the operator finds necessary. A huge store of conditioned billets stands as evidence of the vast amount of material that is being processed at the plant. Here billets are being bored as the first step in making hollow drill steel for mining and other rock drilling operations. Hollow drill steels are a highly specialized product of the company, which has developed special melting and rolling techniques through long experience. The close proximity of some of the world's largest mines has meant that a practical proving laboratory has always been available. Out of these furnaces, red-hot billets drop to a moving table that carries them to a combination group of 16 and 10-inch finishing mills. These mills roll all the smaller sizes of rounds, squares, flats, octagons, hexagons, or other required shapes. They were specially designed to expedite production of the smaller quantities of tool, stainless, and highly alloyed specialty steels. After being cut, the small bars, like their larger cousins, are covered with mica and allowed to cool gradually. finishing hammers produce bars, rings, discs, and other forgings of all the high-grade steels. These are not ramrods in a row of cannon muzzles, but rods being packed in tubes for an accurate annealing process in specially designed pit furnaces. Heating and cooling cycles of tool steels are controlled with the utmost accuracy. All tool steels are packed with carbonaceous material for their stay in the annealing furnace. Unusually complete plant facilities and the most modern equipment make it possible to supply bars that have been heat treated to definite physical specifications. Some bars may be supplied quenched and drawn. Others may be normalized. Any combination of heat treatments that may be necessary can readily be supplied. Before they're ready for inspection, all bars are straightened. ends are trimmed to finish the bars. Metallurgical control is supplemented by fracture examination of all tool steel bars. While careful grade control is exercised throughout manufacture, a final check is applied to all finished products by spark testing. A final inspection department inspects both visually and mechanically the quality of workmanship of the finished product. Then a coat of lacquer is sprayed on to act as a preservative until the bars are used. Each grade is marked with an unmistakable combination of identifying stripes. This masked woman is working in the high-speed tool bit department where bits of all sizes are produced. Every tool bit undergoes a hardness test. Tools are etched indelibly with a lifelong identification mark. Billets coming from these furnaces move to a combination setup of rolling mills that is very similar to the 16 and 10-inch mill combination that produces the small rounds, flats, and other shapes of highly alloyed steels. But these mills are laid out for quantity production, and at the same time their flexible design provides for the rolling of coils. Agile hands, sure feet, and faultless judgment are vital necessities to these catchers at the coil mill. A false step or a bad catch might send a squirming snake of red-hot steel slithering through the air on a deadly rampage, a rampage more destructive than the most venomous cobra. As soon as the rod is rolled to the right size, it is wound in coils for easy handling. Then Then it is carried off to a continuous furnace where it travels through a strain-relieving heat. Arriving at the cold draw department, coils are first given a full anneal in specially built bell-type furnaces, and then passed on for further processing into cold drawn and centerless ground products. After the coils are annealed and before they are cold drawn, it is necessary to clean the surface by pickling in acids. After pickling and washing, time wash, and then bake before being drawn. Cold drawing produces in the steel a work hardness which must be relieved between operations. This hardness is quickly relieved when coils are placed in salt baths or heated in electric pit furnaces. Bars are drawn on a straight bench. Pulled slowly through the dies, they come out perfectly sized. Marvelously efficient centerless grinding equipment turns out ground bars from 1/16 of an inch to 4 inches in diameter. Throughout every phase of manufacture, close metallurgical control is exercised. Tensile properties of a finished product are tested as a powerful piece of laboratory equipment pulls a rod in two. A swinging hammer striking with measured force finds the steel's impact resistance. With this heat-treating equipment, the metallurgical department not only conducts its routine check heat treatments, but is constantly working on research. Equipment for the most modern hardness testing is used in the laboratory. Constant microscopic examinations are made. So thorough is the laboratory in its work that it even maintains its own tool room for machining test specimens. of wonderfully devised equipment and intricate machinery means nothing without human knowledge and the guiding hands of men. Only men's skill can bring life to the roaring furnace, the rumbling mill, the scientific instruments of the laboratory. And only in the forward surging minds of men can be born the new steels, the finer steels of tomorrow. The steels that will build the world man wants to build.
I can see a stream of tools for industry. Tools that help to build equipment for 100 different jobs. For the farms, the home, transportation, aircraft, ships, and all the things that have advanced our modern civilization. In this steel, I can see someone's dreams come true. I can see a vision fulfilled.